What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome back to the TheSlamDuncan YouTube channel. I'm just going to be going over the last two games for the Chicago Bulls, which was obviously the win against the Detroit Pistons, and then the game that I just watched, the Jazz versus Bulls, and the Bulls lost this game. Very simple, just Bulls won against the worst team in the East and lost against the best team in the West. So that's kind of, just as simple as that. I'll break some things down a little bit, but I do want to get a little bit to the trade deadline, which is on Thursday, as I'm recording this on Monday. So I'm going to kind of just talk about these games really quickly and then kind of talk about my thoughts on the trade deadline yet again because I think just Bulls fans need to hear my thoughts again or just listen to more stuff about the trade deadline as it is approaching and teams are definitely kind of, looking out and seeing where their guys' value is. So before we get into that, though, make sure you hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Talk about the Pistons first, then we'll get into the Jazz. I said earlier, Bulls versus Pistons. Pistons are the worst team in the Eastern Conference. You should win against this team, and they did just that. I thought the Bulls got off to a really slow start in this game. It wasn't really until Daniel Gafford, who had a heck of a game, came in second quarter. He brought the energy and was just like, all right, look, we're going to turn up the energy here, and he did just that. Ever since then, the Bulls were basically on a roll. Third quarter was definitely the best quarter for the Bulls, not on just offense, but also defense. The defense was really good in the second half, in my opinion, in this game. I even tweeted out that, especially in the second half, there was some of it in the first half, but in the second half, mostly, you saw that Billy Donovan was like, all right, we're going to switch everything on defense. And it really didn't matter who was in the game at this point. It was just that we wanted to limit the Pistons' ability to get inside because they're just not that good of a three-point shooting team. Hence, look at this right here, 4 for 25 from three-point range, right? Once that switch happened, it was perfect for the Bulls because it stopped the ability for the Pistons to effectively run the pick and roll, and then it forced a bunch of jump shots by the Pistons. Once that happened, the Bulls basically took over this game, and then they won, obviously, by 14, which I think we won more like by 20, but we won this game pretty effectively. I saw some Bulls fans thinking like, oh God, we got that win that we needed. Yes, we obviously needed this win, but you shouldn't have gotten too excited about a Pistons win. There's just no reason to be excited about the Bulls winning against the Detroit Pistons, who are at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. There's no reason to be excited about that. We should have beat this team, and we took care of business. I thought early the offense was just bad. I thought Billy Donovan was very set on we need to run these sets to make sure that we're not turning the ball over so much, and that has its pros and cons. It's just that this team plays at an up-paced tempo, and we need to play at an up-paced tempo, or else we're going to be screwed, right? Because as we've seen, especially since after the All-Star break, this team has very little shot-creating ability. When Zach's not on the floor and when Thaddeus Young's not on the floor, it is tough for this team to create any sort of shot except take a three-point line or a shot from the three-point line, right? So, running the set, it slows down this offense. Therefore, we can't exactly always get the fast break opportunities, or we can't always get those easy cuts to the rim. If we're running sets, it's kind of harder for this team to generate offense, and it is effective, but we need to run sets, but also allow certain moments to just let the offense flow. So, no sets called, we just run our usual offense just to allow this team to get some sort of rhythm. But we kind of got away from we're going to run only this set after the first quarter, and that definitely opened up the Bulls for the rest of the game just to kind of be themselves, and that was good to see. A lot of great passes from Thaddeus Young and Satoransky this game, which really helped. Levine didn't have to do too much, as you saw. He only had 18, which was obviously, still a leading scorer, but he didn't have to dominate. But I thought this was overall just a really good team win because it's obviously necessary. But the defense really won us this game because once we started that switching and everything, Detroit couldn't hit a jump shot. We got out on the fast break, took advantage, and just we just played Bulls basketball, which we should have. 20 assists, but the main thing I think is that we only had 26 assists. We had 18 turnovers, but it was good to see that the other stats was hey, we got our rebounds. We did a good job of getting our good shots, 50% from three-point range, right? The turnovers were an issue, but it wasn't that drastic of an issue. But luckily, thanks to the Pistons not being that good of a team, it didn't take too much. Now, this was obviously a pretty decent win, but again, against Detroit. Now, I want to talk about this game a little bit more in depth here. I thought the starting unit, got off to a great start. Actually, I was like, "Hey, we're keeping up with this Jazz team." I have no issue with that at all. Rudy Gobert this game almost had a triple double with 9 blocks, which was I didn't even recognize it just because I'm so used to the Bulls driving to the rim and just putting up a bad shot at the rim. So Rudy Gobert apparently got credit for 9 blocks and good for him. But I came into this game like, okay, we're not gonna win this game, and obviously we didn't win this game, and a lot of Bulls fans they shouldn't have thought we should win this game. I saw some that still did, but I was more worried like, okay, if we can't guard the paint this game, then we're absolutely gonna get smoked, right? Because then Rudy Gobert's gonna go off for like 35. But not only that, like you're basically giving the Jazz their two best ways to score, which is in the paint and from the 3-point line, right? You need to take away at least one of them. Like you can't take away everything from an NBA team. It's just impossible to do, right? So you have to at least take away something. And honestly, I thought this game for the Bulls, they actually took away the inside paint points from the Jazz. I was actually really pleased that they were able to do that. I know the score doesn't show it, but when a team makes 17 threes on 43% shooting, like that's just the score is going to be close to 120 no matter what, right? I honestly think that this Bulls team, they actually took away the paint. Now, I don't think they fought over screens very well because there was a lot of open threes or just a lot of open mid-range shots the Jazz got. But when the Bulls really did, like, actually made sure that they couldn't get that layup and the Jazz were forced to kick it out, I actually thought the Bulls' rotations were okay tonight. Making sure, like, okay, if once they kick it out and after we guard the paint, once they kick it out to the 3-point shooter and we rotate, that I thought was pretty okay. What I thought the Bulls just didn't do a good job was the initial perimeter defense was no one was getting over the screen set by Gobert. Therefore, it led to a lot of Donovan Mitchell pull-up shots, which were just bang easy for him, and a lot of Joe Ingles coming off a screen hitting it, or just initial just bad defense, which then leads to an easy pass to another 3-point shooter. So that's where I'm like, yeah, obviously we need to control the 3-point line in this game, but we can't just let Gobert get an alley-oop layup every single time down the floor. So you have to pick your poison against this Jazz team, and obviously we didn't give it that many paint points to the first 3 quarters, but the fourth quarter we just kind of fell apart, which was over at that point. So not too upset with this game because again we're supposed to lose, but honestly I don't think we should have lost by 25. I was very upset with the offense tonight. I thought LaVine did not do a good job of passing the ball. I credit him to getting those 27 because this Jazz team is a really good defensive team, but there were moments with LaVine that I'm like, man, you got to pass that, or hey, you need to try to look for someone else. But he was obviously by far the best player tonight for the Bulls. Thaddeus Young was the second best, and he did a good job of being an inside presence. But it's just the others need to step up in this type of game, right? You can't depend on Young and LaVine to carry you to this victory, right? Or at least just stay in the game, to be honest. Just you can't depend on just Young and LaVine to keep you guys in this game, right? And I thought Patrick Williams he started off pretty okay, but then he got hesitant towards the end. I'm going to call it Markkanen again. I don't know what's happening with him at all right now. He only took 2 threes, which is good to see, but I need him to be aggressive, and at this point, we're starting to see with Billy Donovan, right? He's like, I'm not going to play Markkanen, in key moments here, and if he can't be effective on the offensive end, then I don't really I don't really need to play him at all, because if he can't bring his one sole value, then hey, I'm just going to have to play someone else in your spot, right? The bench did not come very well, or did not come ready to play at all either. I thought Otto Porter did not play very well. Kobe White missed a lot of shots and took a lot of layups in front of Rudy Gobert's face, which is you're not supposed to do that at all. Denzel did not play very well. I thought actually Wendell Carter Jr. actually played pretty well in his minutes, but no one's going to really talk about that because we lost by 25, right? So besides Satoransky, LaVine, and Young, I think no one else came ready to play. And that was kind of sad to see. But and I'm specifically talking about the offensive end. I really do think the defense, I know I'm in the minority with the defense. I just really think that the defense was pretty okay, all things considered here. But the offense was atrocious. I mean, I'm going to go back to the shooting stats for this team. It's just 40% from the field goal overall. We couldn't hit our threes at all. I was happy to see that we didn't take as many threes because this Bulls team has gotten up to 35 plus threes in a game before, right? That's not good to see unless it's going down. We didn't do that. So, like, we were attacking the rim tonight. It's just we couldn't hit any shot because Gobert is such a presence, and it was just overall bad in terms of that. I will applaud the Bulls for not giving up as many turnovers. We only have 13 tonight, which is good to see. But main thing with this Bulls team, I'm the trade deadline's coming up, right? But I just keep saying with this Bulls team, like, we need someone else to help LaVine here, because I love Thaddeus Young, but he can't be your second scoring option, and he's been our second scoring option all year. But Young should not be your second scoring option. He is great at what he does, but he's a role player, right? There needs to be someone else that needs to step up, and not only that, we just need a paint presence, because one of the things about this Bulls team is we're very perimeter oriented right now. Obviously, that's just part of the fact, like, when your all-star is a shooting guard and he's your only all-star caliber player, you're going to have to be perimeter oriented, right? Because he's your all-star. You have to play around him, right? But there needs to be some sort of inside presence, and the only inside presence this game was Thaddeus Young for the Bulls. And that's a problem, because what happens against for this Bulls team against a team with a shot blocker, who we're about to face another shot blocker against the Cavs in our next game. The problem that happens is when we start, trying to play downhill and we're, 4 out and 1 in, right? It leaves us very easy to get our shot blocked because we're trying to get to the paint, but then we run into a Gobert. And because we run into a Gobert, shot gets blocked. The reason being is because Gobert is not so afraid of who he has to guard, right? Whether that's, Markkanen, whether it's Kornet, who had some minutes today, whether it's Daniel Gafford, right? The only time he was afraid to come over and block a shot was when he was guarding Thaddeus Young. And that's because Thaddeus Young is an actual threat to score down there, right? We saw it multiple times tonight where Thaddeus Young ran the pick and roll, he got the ball, and Gobert's occupied then, right? But if this team doesn't have an inside presence, then we're playing 5-out offense. And this is where we go back to last year with Boylan, when we played almost like a 5-out offense. And I think that's a serious issue because we're letting Gobert just basically zone the paint. He can then come over and just, anytime we go right towards the rim, shot gets blocked, right? And it was already hard enough to get past the initial line of defense by the Jazz because they're such good defenders. But once we did, it's that we run into a Gobert wall. So we need someone on the inside to at least occupy Gobert to allow then our other guards or perimeter players to get inside and get good looks inside. Because if Gobert is just like, I don't need to guard this guy, then he can just come on over and block that shot. So that's a major problem with the Bulls right now is we're very perimeter oriented. The second unit at the start of the second quarter was awful. And the reason being is just because there was no shot creating in that unit. Everyone played 5-out, right? And even when Markkanen and Kornet came into the game, it's even more just perimeter oriented. So when I keep saying with Bulls fans, like, hey, this team has a lot of issues, one of the issues was glaring tonight is that there's no paint presence. I actually think that tonight wasn't that big of an issue. Like, we don't have a true point guard, right? This was the type of game where it's like, that's not that glaring. What is glaring for tonight, though, was that we have no paint presence besides Thaddeus Young, and Thaddeus Young came into this league as a small forward, right? That can't be the case. So I'm hoping for Karnisovas, and whether it is at the trade deadline, which I sincerely just doubt it, but especially this offseason, there needs to be something addressed here about our inside presence. Guys that can actually score inside in the post. I mean, I've seen so many people say the post is dead. This is a game where the post needs to be very much in the game for the Bulls because that occupies then Gobert and makes the Jazz defense look inside. It's a form of ball penetration. I keep talking about this where posting up a guy is a form of ball penetration that makes the defense have to actually look away from their guy, right? That's important in today's game still. You may not think it, but it's very important. And I just thought it was just so glaring tonight where I'm like, if LaVine, and LaVine at 27, right? But if LaVine gets double teamed, which he did a lot tonight yet again, and the defense starts loading up on him early, then how else is this team going to score, right? LaVine can't shoot over 3 guys all the time. And he had to do that a little bit tonight. But besides him, who's going to score on this team, right? I need someone else to step up, and, this dude right here was supposed to be that guy. And it's becoming very obvious that he's not going to ever be that guy. I'm hoping Patrick Williams in the next coming games starts really becoming aggressive, as we've seen at the end since the All-Star break. He's starting to really apply himself. I hope he really does apply himself in the upcoming games because he's another guy that I feel like can actually be a shot creator because we've seen him take that mid-range shot. We've seen him take the floater. He's able to run the pick and roll and shoot that floater, right? I want to see more of that. Yeah, I know everyone hates that mid-range area, but he can take that shot and get to that spot and hit that shot, right? So, I don't know, man. It's just... I'm hoping for this Bulls team or for Bulls fans to see that this team has a lot of issues right now. And because they have a lot of issues, don't expect this team to be playing well. Because, I mean, for God's sake, if Arcidiacono is getting consistent minutes on your team, you're not going to be that good of a team. There's no reason for you to be a playoff team, right? But for some odd reason, a lot of Bulls fans are like, we should be in the playoffs. I'm like, no, we shouldn't. Not with this team. My God. That, by the way, there's no cuts in this video, so if you see just a lot of kind of blank moments, just because no cuts. Lastly, I'm keeping this video pretty short. Just trade deadline, my quick thoughts. Trade deadline's on Thursday around, I think, 2 something. I don't really know if it's Eastern time or Central time or whatever. But today and Tuesday, so I'm recording this on Monday. So Monday and Tuesday, you've seen it already that the GMs are really starting to like gauge their value on the players that they have right now. So they're kind of asking teams like, hey, what would you give up for this guy, right? They're just trying to gauge all their players' value to see like, hey, maybe we value this guy too much or we value this guy too little. So, for example, let's say for a guy like Satoransky, who we've been hearing on the trade market a lot, it's like Karnisovas is probably calling all these guys, all the teams saying, hey, what would you trade for Satoransky, right? And then he will then take that info and be like, all right, I value Satoransky too little, and that we can probably get more for him right now. And then he can go out and make that trade or something like that. So when you hear all these things like, hey, this team called about this player, don't take that to heart, right? Just don't even think that's a lot behind it. It's just teams calling like, hey, what's the value for this guy? So I saw a bunch of stuff today where it's like, hey, Karnisovas, or people are calling about Patrick Williams, right? Like, don't start thinking, hey, we're trading Patrick Williams for somebody. That's not going to happen. I really don't think it will. If anything, if Patrick Williams is in a trade, it's for a superstar, and there's not many superstars available. Probably none, to be honest. So don't start taking like those reports of like, oh, Bulls are trying to get rid of Patrick Williams, or oh my God, we're going to trade Patrick Williams. Don't do that. Just know that right now the guys are most likely to be traded, but I don't think the Bulls are really going to do a trade. Is Thaddeus Young, Satoransky, Lauri Markkanen, and Wendell Carter Jr. I think those are the 4 guys that I think could, if there is going to be a trade that's going to happen, it would be those 4 guys to be traded. 1 out of the 4 guys, or maybe 2 out of the 4 guys, right? But in all honesty, I don't think the Bulls are going to be doing anything at the trade deadline. I know it's going to disappoint a lot of fans, but I've talked about this in my previous videos before about the Bulls at the trade deadline. Go check that out. One is in the description box, but just go to my channel and you can see, like, this Bulls team right now, we just don't have any cap space. I would not want to give up any assets right now to try to fix this team for the short term. And I also don't want to give up the cap space because we're going to have it at minimum $30 million in cap space this upcoming offseason. We can get up to $50 million if we work around the Young and Saddle contracts. And, part of that money is going to go towards Maxi Levine. So we're going to have probably at max around like 40-ish million. It's maybe a little bit less, so maybe close to like 36 million once we max Levine. But just think, though, that we have cap space, right, to fix, number one, the point guard position, but also bring in somebody that is a big man that can come in and be another option on offense to be a shot creator, right? And that's where I'm starting. Like, I just think that there's just not that many guys right now that are available for the Bulls or just any team, because I just think that so many teams think, hey, we're gonna push for the playoffs right now. I mean, just looking at the standings, right? Like right here, for example, the Pacers. The Pacers right now are in the playoffs right now, and if you're the Washington Wizards, you're thinking, hey, I'm only 3.5 games behind. So why would the Wizards be like, yeah, I'm gonna start selling guys off because we can make the playoffs technically, right? Kind of same thing out west when it comes to this 10 seed. I mean, I think even all the way down to the Kings are still thinking, hey, we're still in it. So there's no reason for these teams to be like, let's sell right now. Let's sell all these guys. So for me personally, I think if you're the Bulls, you're probably thinking, hey, there are more options to help upgrade this team in the offseason. There are less options to do it now. And not only that, if you give up assets to go get a guy right now, that means that you have to trust that's the guy that you want for the future for whatever position you're trying to fill, right? And that, I think, is kind of a risky position because let's say you go get Alonzo Ball, right? You have to pay him, number one. But number two, that's basically trusting your entire future right now. It's saying, Lonzo's our guy at the point guard position, right? And we will never need another, like, a better point guard at that position from here on out. I think that's kind of scary. I would rather make that decision in the offseason when we're either trying to sign guys or just there are more options available for this team to, kind of, just assess. Be like, Lonzo might be available right now, but can we get someone better in the offseason, right? And I kind of wait until then. And I know Lonzo won't be available in the offseason because he's going to be restricted free agent. We can throw money at him because we will have money, right? He's expecting around $20 million or more, and we have that money. But, maybe there is a better guy, and that maybe more of a vet that can come in at their point guard spot in the offseason. So, overall, I don't expect anything to happen, but I gave you my 4 guys, right? Young, Satoransky, Markkanen, and Wendell Carter Jr. Those are the 4 guys that I think could be traded come Thursday. Any trade that does happen, I'm going to try to release a video on Thursday about that trade, just kind of giving my quick analysis, and then I'll probably release another video a little bit later, kind of just, going back to my initial analysis and then rethinking it all and seeing how that player or whatever trade happens kind of makes sense to the team. So that's my quick thoughts on the trade deadline. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's kind of just no video, no footage being reviewed or anything. Just kind of quick thoughts on the Pistons game, the Jazz game, and then quick thoughts on the trade deadline, which is coming very fast right now. So, Bulls fans, don't expect anything to happen. Let's hope we get a win against Cavaliers. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.